When businesswoman Olivia Chen discovers a wounded soldier outside her office, she learns he's Captain Ethan Grant, officially declared dead years earlier. Ethan reveals he faked his death after uncovering illegal military operations hidden within Olivia's company. As mercenaries close in, the two fight to expose the truth, uploading classified evidence before Ethan dies from his wounds. The leak sparks national outrage, toppling hidden powers and implicating Atlas Consulting. In the aftermath, Olivia faces public scrutiny but chooses truth over reputation, honoring Ethan's sacrifice. As dawn breaks, she finds redemption in courage, conscience, and the light of exposure. The rain had been falling for hours, drumming against the glass facade of the downtown high-rise like an unrelenting heartbeat. At the 32nd floor, where the lights never truly went out, Olivia Chen stared at her reflection in the darkened window, the woman who built her empire from silence and long hours. The founder of Atlas Consulting, the firm known for its ruthless efficiency, Olivia was known for her control. Every meeting, every outcome, every smile, calculated. But on that Thursday evening, control slipped. It began with the sound. A dull, uneven thud against the concrete outside the lobby entrance, faint but distinct beneath the hum of stormwater. Olivia almost ignored it. Her assistant had already left, and she was packing up her laptop, her mind cycling through tomorrow's presentations and deadlines. Yet something, a flicker of unease, a whisper of conscience, pulled her toward the window overlooking the street below. Through the rain, she saw him. A man, slumped near the revolving doors, half hidden by a row of potted ferns that lined the entrance. His body was twisted, one arm stretched awkwardly, the other pressed against his side. For a moment, she thought he might be homeless, another forgotten soul seeking shelter in the city's sleepless heart. But then lightning cracked open the sky, illuminating a flash of camouflage. Military fatigues. Her breath caught. Olivia grabbed her coat and took the elevator down, her heels echoing through the empty corridor like the ticking of a metronome. By the time the doors opened to the lobby, her pulse had quickened. The security guard's post was empty, deserted for a cigarette break, probably. The front doors hissed open, and the storm's chill slapped her face as she stepped outside. He was still there. Younger than she expected, maybe mid-30s. His face was pale, almost gray under the flickering streetlight. A thin stream of blood snaked from beneath his hand, disappearing into the cracks of the pavement. His lips moved faintly. "Ma'am." His voice was gravelly raw. Olivia knelt beside him, unsure what to do, the edges of her world softening. "You're hurt. We need to get you to a hospital." He tried to shake his head. "No. No hospitals." There was something desperate in his eyes, not just pain, but fear. "Please," she said, "you're bleeding. I can call someone." "Don't call anyone," he interrupted, gripping her wrist with surprising strength. "Just help me inside." Olivia hesitated, scanning the street. Empty. Just the rain and the hollow echoes of a city that didn't care who lived or died in its shadows. Against her better judgment, she helped him up, slinging his arm around her shoulders. His body was heavy, trembling. They stumbled through the glass doors, leaving behind muddy footprints and drops of blood on the marble floor. Under the lobby lights, she saw the insignia on his sleeve. A patch, torn but visible, U.S. Army. Her pulse surged again. "You're military." He nodded weakly, collapsing onto one of the leather couches. "Was." Olivia pressed a hand to her mouth. "I'll get the first aid kit." She ran to the reception desk, rummaging through drawers, her hands shaking. When she returned, the man had taken something from his pocket, a worn leather wallet, its edges softened by years of wear. He set it beside him, face down. As she knelt and wrapped gauze around his wound, she noticed his dog tags glinting faintly beneath his collar. "What's your name?" she asked. He didn't answer right away. His eyes seemed distant, like he was staring through her, into something long gone. "Ethan," he finally said. "Ethan Grant." The name landed oddly, familiar but misplaced, like a word you know but can't recall from where. "Okay, Ethan. You're safe now," she said softly, trying to reassure him, though she wasn't sure if she believed it. He gave a faint, humorless smile. "Safe, sir. Funny word." She could smell the metallic tang of blood now, sharp against the sterile scent of polished marble and lemon disinfectant. Olivia's phone buzzed in her pocket, an alert from her building's security app. Motion detected near the back entrance. Her gaze flicked toward the cameras on the wall monitor. A black SUV idled near the loading dock. No license plate visible. A chill ran down her spine. "Ethan," she said slowly, "are you being followed?" His eyes darkened. "If they find me here," he murmured, "they'll kill us both." The words hit her like a blow. Before she could respond, the lights flickered, once, twice, then steadied. Olivia's mind raced. She didn't know who they were, but something in his tone told her this was no delusion. Her hand brushed against the wallet he had set down earlier. The leather was damp, sticky with rain. Something compelled her to flip it over. Inside the clear sleeve was a military ID. The photograph, the same man before her, though younger, sharper, was unmistakable. But it was the name beneath it that made her blood run cold. Captain Ethan Grant, U.S. Army Special Operations, deceased, 2018. Olivia's breath caught in her throat. The ID said he was dead. Officially dead. She looked up at him, her voice barely a whisper. "Ethan, what is this?" His eyes met hers, weary but defiant. "It's the reason I can't go to a hospital." Somewhere outside, thunder cracked again, and in the brief flash of light, she saw something move behind the SUV's tinted windows. The city suddenly felt too quiet, too still. And as Olivia stood there, rainwater dripping from her coat, the realization settled like ice in her chest. Whatever had dragged this wounded soldier to her doorstep was far bigger and far more dangerous than she could possibly imagine. The ID on the table seemed to pulse under the fluorescent light, its word, "deceased," a silent promise that the night was only just beginning. The world outside the glass facade had turned into a blur of rain and darkness. Inside, the silence was unbearable. The only sound was the shallow rhythm of Ethan's breathing, uneven and fragile, like the last notes of a fading song. Olivia stood motionless, her hand still hovering above the wallet. The word deceased burned in her mind, its finality clashing against the living proof before her eyes. She felt the thud of her own heartbeat echo in her ears. "You're supposed to be dead," she whispered, as if saying it aloud might make the situation real, or unreal enough to dismiss. Ethan's eyes fluttered open, weary but sharp. "That's what they wanted," he said quietly. "That's what I needed." "What does that mean?" she demanded, her voice trembling despite her efforts to sound composed. "Who's after you? Why fake your death?" He didn't answer right away. He pressed his hand against the wound on his side, grimacing. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." "Try me," Olivia said. He looked at her, studying her, the sharp lines of a woman who had spent her life negotiating with power, yet standing there barefoot on the marble, she seemed suddenly human, unguarded. "Finally," he said, "I was part of a unit that wasn't supposed to exist. We were deployed off the books, no records, no oversight. When a mission goes wrong, people like me don't get to come home. We get erased." Olivia felt a chill move through her. "Erased," she repeated softly. He nodded. "Officially, I died in a helicopter crash in 2018. My file was sealed, my family given a flag. But the truth is, we uncovered something during that mission, something they couldn't let see daylight." She hesitated, unsure if she should press further. But curiosity, or perhaps instinct, pushed her forward. "Who's they?" Ethan's lips tightened. "The people who write the stories the rest of the world believes." The weight of those words hung heavy in the air. Olivia moved to the lobby window and peered down at the black SUV. It was still there, engine idling. "You brought them here," she said, her voice low but firm. "Whoever they are, they're watching this building." He closed his eyes briefly. "I didn't mean to. I thought I'd shaken them off. I just needed somewhere safe for a minute. Somewhere they wouldn't look." She turned back to him, her chest tightening. "You chose the headquarters of one of the most visible consulting firms in the city. That's not exactly hiding." He almost smiled. "That's why it works. They'd never think I'd risk being seen." Olivia's mind was spinning. Logic warred with fear. She could call the police, report a trespasser, hand this over to someone trained for danger. But something deeper, something moral, rooted her in place. She had built her life on control, on turning away from chaos. Yet now chaos had found her, bleeding and breathing in her lobby, and she couldn't walk away. "You need medical attention," she said finally. "You'll bleed out if we don't stop it properly." Ethan opened his eyes, exhaustion etched deep in his features. "There's a med kit inside my pack." He motioned weakly to the duffel bag slumped against the couch. Olivia hesitated before unzipping it. Inside was not a med kit, or not only that. There were sealed envelopes, a flash drive, and stacks of photographs. Black and white surveillance images. Her hands trembled as she flipped through them. Military compounds, civilians in foreign streets, and then she froze. Her own building. The Atlas Consulting logo shining above the entrance. The date on the bottom corner, 2 weeks ago. Her voice caught. "Why are there pictures of my office?" Ethan looked up at her, his jaw tightening. "That's what I was trying to tell you. They're not after me anymore. They're after what I have, and what connects to you." The air seemed to vanish. "What are you talking about?" He leaned forward, his breathing labored. "Atlas Consulting has a contract, indirect, through shell subsidiaries, tied to a military intelligence group. You don't even know it, but your company's handling logistics for their cover operations. When we found evidence of war crimes, they erased us. I tried to bring proof out. They've been cleaning up loose ends ever since." Olivia stumbled backward. The world she had so carefully built, her empire of glass and ethics and power, suddenly felt like it was made of smoke. "That's not possible," she said, though doubt cracked through her words. "We only handle data management, logistics optimization." "Exactly," Ethan interrupted. "The perfect disguise. You think you're managing supply chains for international partners. In reality, you're moving materials they don't want traced." Lightning flashed again, and Olivia saw her reflection mirrored in the glass, a woman who prided herself on being untouchable, now staring at the fragile illusion of her own integrity. She pressed her hand to her forehead. "If what you're saying is true—" "It is," he said. "And they'll do anything to keep it buried. Which means you're in danger now too." The rain intensified, a roaring wall against the glass. Olivia's phone buzzed again, another motion alert. This time, from the service elevator corridor. Her throat tightened. "They're inside," Ethan said, his tone calm but urgent. "We need to move." "How do you know?" she whispered. He met her eyes with quiet certainty. "Because they always come in pairs, one to distract, one to finish the job." He tried to stand, gripping the couch for support, but pain cut through his movement. Olivia slipped under his arm again, her mind racing. The fire exit at the back of the building led to the underground garage. If they could reach it unnoticed, maybe they had a chance. As they moved toward the corridor, the elevator pinged. Both froze. The metallic doors slid open slowly, revealing only darkness inside. Then, a single boot step echoed, deliberate, heavy. Ethan tightened his grip on her arm. "Don't breathe," he whispered. A beam of light swept across the marble floor, landing briefly on the smear of blood he'd left earlier. A shadow shifted. Olivia's heart pounded so hard she thought it would give them away. The flashlight turned, and for an instant, a voice murmured low into a radio, visual confirmed. "He's here." Ethan exhaled. "They found us." Then, with the measured calm of a man who had faced death before, he looked at Olivia, the businesswoman whose world was built on certainty, and said, "If you want to live, follow my lead." And together, they slipped into the shadows, as the hunters stepped into the light. The stairwell smelled of dust and metal, the scent of a place meant for emergencies but never truly used. Each step echoed softly in the hollow shaft as Olivia and Ethan moved downward, guided only by the flicker of the red exit lights. Above them, faint voices echoed, clipped, efficient, the kind of voices that didn't waste words. "They're sweeping the lower floors," Ethan whispered. "2 men, maybe 3. Olivia's breath came in shallow bursts. Her heels clicked too loudly against the concrete, so she slipped them off and carried them in one hand. Barefoot, she could feel the cold seeping up through the steel steps. "Where are we going?" she asked under her breath. "Sublevel garage," he murmured. "If we can reach the maintenance bay, there's a service tunnel that connects to the adjacent building. It's our only shot." Her mind rebelled against the absurdity of it. Tunnels, pursuit, men with radios. She was supposed to be reviewing quarterly reports, not fleeing with a ghost. Yet each new sound from above, the click of a weapon's safety, the hollow thud of boots, stripped her denial away. They descended another flight before Ethan suddenly stopped. "Wait." He crouched, wincing as pain tore through his side. Olivia caught him before he fell. His hand came away wet with blood, darker now. "You're getting worse," she whispered. "I've been worse," he said, forcing a grim smile. "We just need time." Olivia tore a strip from her blouse, pressing it against his wound. "You're not going to make it to the garage if you keep bleeding like this." He didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the landing below, a security camera, blinking faintly. Ethan's tone dropped. "They're using the building's surveillance. We have to cut the feed." "There's a control room on 20, Olivia said immediately. "But that's up." "Then up it is." It went against every instinct she had, but the clarity in his voice steadied her. They turned and began ascending again, moving quickly, silently. The building, usually bright and humming with screens, now felt like an empty carcass of glass and wire, a place where ghosts walked. On the 20th floor, the glass doors to the control hub stood ajar. Olivia swiped her keycard, praying the system still recognized her clearance. The lock blinked green. Inside, the walls shimmered with screens showing every corner of the tower, elevators, hallways, the deserted lobby where this nightmare began. Ethan moved straight to the console, his fingers surprisingly steady. "We need to create a loop. Make it look like we're still on the lower floors." "How do you know all this?" Olivia asked. He didn't look up. "I used to run surveillance operations. If I hadn't, I'd already be dead." She watched him work, each keystroke a small act of defiance against the invisible enemy closing in. On one of the monitors, a live feed showed two men in tactical gear moving through the stairwell they had just left. They wore black, unmarked uniforms, no insignia, no badges, just purpose. Ethan's jaw clenched. Mercenaries. Contracted. Not official. Contracted by who? She asked. He turned the camera feed toward her. One of the men held a tablet displaying schematics labeled Atlas Secure Network Integration, Phase 4. Olivia's stomach dropped. It was her company's proprietary system. Her design. "No," she breathed. "That's a data migration project. It's just logistics." "It's a front," he said. "They're using your architecture to move intelligence records, black site inventories, names, operations. They're cleaning the slate." Olivia felt dizzy. Her world, her reputation, her legacy, was being rewritten into something monstrous. "They're going to erase everything," Ethan said quietly. "Including you." He turned a final key, and the screens blinked. A looping feed began replaying the empty stairwell below. "That'll buy us 10 minutes, he said. Olivia nodded, forcing air into her lungs. "Then what?" "Then we get out." They left the control room, slipping into a dim corridor lined with server cabinets. The hum of machines was steady, almost hypnotic. Olivia found herself tracing her fingers against the cold metal, grounding herself in something real. But just as they reached the corner, a voice echoed, "Freeze!" A flashlight beam hit them full force. A man stepped forward, weapon drawn, the same mercenary from the monitor. Ethan reacted instantly. He shoved Olivia behind a cabinet, the motion fluid despite his pain. The shot cracked through the silence, a shattering concussion that sent sparks off a server rack. Olivia clamped her hands over her ears, heart hammering. Ethan lunged, driving his shoulder into the gunman's midsection. They crashed against the wall, the weapon skidding across the floor. For a moment, the world shrank to a struggle of breath and weight and survival. Then, a sickening thud, and the man went down. Ethan staggered back, clutching his side. "We need to move." Olivia stared at the unconscious man, the gun at her feet. She picked it up instinctively, though her hands shook. "I've never—" "You don't have to use it," Ethan said. "Just carry it. Sometimes that's enough." They pressed on toward the elevator lobby. But as the doors slid open, Olivia saw something that made her stop cold. The security feed on the wall displayed the building's ground level, and there, under the pale fluorescent light of the lobby, stood 3 figures. The SUV men. One of them held up a phone, and the screen displayed a live image of Olivia and Ethan in that very moment. "They're in the system," Ethan said grimly. "They're tracking us through your internal network." "Then there's nowhere to hide," Olivia said, her voice breaking. Ethan looked at her, his eyes steady despite the chaos. "There's one place left. But it's not hiding." "What do you mean?" He reached into his jacket and pulled out the flash drive, the one she'd seen earlier in his bag. "This is everything. Names, dates, evidence. If this goes public, they can't touch us." Olivia's gaze flicked from the flash drive to the camera feed, where the men were closing in. "You want to expose them." "I didn't come here to die," he said quietly. "I came here to finish what they buried." Outside, thunder rolled again, low and resonant, a drumbeat of fate. Olivia met his gaze, her fear slowly transforming into something sharper, heavier, resolve. "Then let's finish it." Ethan nodded once. "There's a secure uplink in your boardroom. If we reach it, I can send this to every major outlet in the country." She didn't hesitate. "Then that's where we're going." And as the storm raged against the city skyline, the businesswoman and the ghost soldier began their climb toward the light, not knowing if, by dawn, either of them would still be alive. The elevator doors opened to the 32nd floor with a muted chime that seemed to echo forever. The office was unrecognizable in the stormlight, shadows crawling over glass partitions, reflections of lightning bending across the polished floor. The city outside glowed faintly through the rain, a blur of blue and silver. Olivia had spent countless nights here chasing profit, perfection, control. Tonight, she was chasing survival. Ethan stumbled as they stepped out. She caught him again, her hands slick with rain and blood. "You're fading," she whispered. He gave a ghost of a smile. "I've been fading for years." Olivia led him past the empty cubicles toward the boardroom at the end of the corridor, a glass chamber that seemed to float above the storm. The long table gleamed under the soft emergency lights, a cathedral of power now turned into a battlefield. "Plug it in there," she said, motioning to the main terminal by the window. Ethan slid the flash drive into the port, his fingers trembling slightly. The monitor flared to life, flooding the room with pale light. Strings of code scrolled across the screen, encrypted files unlocking one after another. "This is it," he said, his voice low but certain. "Every contract, every covert operation Atlas was pulled into. They used your logistics models to move weapons and clean their tracks." Olivia stared at the lines of data, her throat tightening. "I never knew." "I believe you," Ethan said softly. "That's why I came to you." For a moment, the room fell silent except for the hum of the server uplink initializing. Then the lights flickered again. A warning message flashed on screen, "External breach detected." Ethan's head snapped up. "They're counter-hacking us." "How?" Olivia demanded. "They're in your network. They know what we're doing." She ran to the glass wall, scanning the streets below. 2 black SUVs had now pulled up by the entrance. Men in dark clothing fanned out beneath umbrellas, their movements coordinated, purposeful. "They're coming in," she said. "Then we finish before they get here." Ethan began typing faster, bypassing security firewalls, his breath ragged. Olivia could see the pallor in his skin, the way his shoulders slumped each time pain flared. She placed her hand on his, steadying him. "You're not doing this alone," she said. Together they worked, her mind, once attuned to profit margins and negotiation tactics, now recalibrated for survival. She rerouted access protocols, diverting power from lower levels to boost the uplink signal. The storm outside was intensifying, lightning crackling across the skyline like veins of fire. 5 minutes, Ethan said. "That's all we need." The elevator chimed again, lower this time, maybe the 20th floor. Olivia's heart clenched. They were coming up fast. "We have to barricade the door," she said. Ethan nodded toward the heavy oak chairs. "Do it." She dragged them across the floor, stacking them against the glass entrance. The motion hurt her shoulders, but adrenaline drowned the pain. The hum of the elevator grew louder. 2 minutes, Ethan said, his voice straining. "I'm routing it through satellite backup. Once it's out, It's everywhere. Olivia knelt beside him, watching as the final progress bar crawled forward. 62%. 68%. 74%. Then, a sharp ping. The elevator doors opened. The mercenaries stepped into the hallway, their boots clicking in rhythm. One of them raised a compact submachine gun. "End of the line, Captain," he called, voice amplified through a mask. "You should have stayed dead." Ethan didn't look up. "Almost there," he whispered. Olivia pressed closer, instinct overriding fear. "What do we do?" He reached for the weapon she still held, the gun from the earlier fight. His hand closed over hers, steady, deliberate. "If they come through that door, don't aim to scare. Aim to survive." She wanted to protest, to say she wasn't built for this. But something in his gaze, calm, resolute, silenced her. The first shot shattered the glass panel. Olivia ducked instinctively, shards raining down. The thunder outside merged with the gunfire until it was impossible to tell which came from heaven and which from hell. Ethan fired back, short controlled bursts. The recoil jarred through his wounded body, but his precision was unwavering. A man fell. Another shouted into his comm. "Upload complete, 92%. Olivia crawled to the terminal, shielding the drive with her arm as sparks flew from the glass walls. A bullet ricocheted off the conference table, embedding itself in the digital display. The screen flickered, 97%. Then Ethan was hit. He stumbled backward, the impact sending him crashing against the table's edge. Olivia screamed, catching him before he fell completely. Blood seeped through his jacket, darker now, spreading fast. "Stay with me," she begged. He looked at her with fading clarity, his breath shallow. "You did it," he murmured. "They can't hide anymore." But the progress bar was still at 99%. The system froze, connection unstable. Olivia's hands flew across the keyboard. "No, no, no." Behind her, glass shattered again. The mercenaries advanced, one firing at the ceiling to disorient her. "Step away from the console," one barked. Olivia turned, her hand shaking around the gun. "It's over," she said. "You've lost." The man laughed behind his mask. "You think one upload changes the world? We erase things every day." And then, a single tone from the monitor. "Upload complete." For a moment, everything stopped. The sound of the rain, the hum of the servers, even the breathing between them, suspended. On the screen, a message blinked. Data transferred. Distribution in progress. The mercenaries' laughter died. Ethan smiled faintly through the blood on his lips. "Now the world knows." The leader raised his weapon, fury overtaking calculation. "Then you die for it." He fired, but not fast enough. Olivia, acting on instinct alone, squeezed the trigger. The shot echoed through the boardroom, deafening and final. The man fell backward, the weapon clattering across the floor. For a long moment, she couldn't move. The rain outside roared louder, a torrent against the windows. Ethan's body sagged against her. "Hey," she whispered, shaking him gently. "Ethan, stay with me. It's done. You made it." His eyes opened weakly. "Promise me, you'll tell them the truth. All of it." "I promise," she said, tears mixing with rainwater on her cheeks. He exhaled slowly, a faint smile at the edge of his mouth. "Then I can rest." And with that, Captain Ethan Grant, the soldier declared dead years ago, finally went still. Outside, sirens began to wail. Distant at first, then closer, rising above the storm. Olivia stood amid the wreckage, the glass, the blood, the flickering monitors, as the city below awakened to a story it was never meant to hear. The screens around her began lighting up, one by one, broadcasting fragments of the files Ethan had released. Satellite images, names, coordinates. The truth was out. And as the storm raged on, Olivia realized that nothing, not power, not wealth, not control, could ever make her the same woman again. But dawn was coming. And with it, the light. The first light of dawn bled through the storm clouds like the slow healing of a wound. The rain had stopped, but its remnants glistened across the city, glass towers shimmering as if the night had tried and failed to erase them. The world was waking, unaware that something monumental had shifted while it slept. On the 32nd floor of Atlas Consulting, the glass boardroom was a battlefield of silence. Broken screens flickered with static. Papers drifted across the floor like ghosts of a fallen empire. Olivia Chen stood at the window, barefoot, her reflection fractured by bullet cracks spiderwebbing through the glass. Her hands still shook faintly, though the gun she'd held was gone, taken by the responding officers hours ago. Below, the flashing lights of emergency vehicles bathed the street in alternating blue and red. The mercenaries were gone, some dead, some captured. The building was swarming with investigators now, but Olivia's mind lingered only on the man who wasn't there anymore. Ethan Grant's body had been taken away before sunrise. Covered gently, respectfully. A soldier reclaimed by history. But even as they wheeled him out under the stormlight, Olivia could not shake the look in his eyes during those final seconds, the quiet relief of a man who had carried a truth too long, finally allowed to set it down. Now, she stood alone. Her company, her creation, her life's monument, was in ruins. The federal agents downstairs had already begun seizing servers, freezing accounts, interrogating her staff. She knew the world outside was changing by the minute. The files Ethan had released had spread like wildfire. Every news channel, every social platform, every corner of the internet now carried fragments of the story. Declassified leak reveals secret covert network within private sector. Her company's name appeared in every headline, her photograph beneath it. Olivia Chen, once the face of corporate excellence, was now the unwitting symbol of a system built on invisible crimes. And yet, she didn't feel shame. Not anymore. What she felt was clarity. The truth had cost everything. Her reputation, her safety, her carefully curated life, but it had also broken something open inside her, something that could never be rebuilt the same way again. She turned toward the boardroom table, where the remnants of Ethan's belongings lay neatly arranged by the investigators. His dog tags, the worn wallet, the blood-stained flash drive, now an artifact of consequence. Her hand trembled as she reached for the tags, their metal cool against her skin. She traced the name etched into them, capped, Ethan Grant. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "You were never meant to disappear." The door opened behind her. A man in a dark suit stepped in, Agent Ruiz, FBI. His tone was measured, respectful. "Ms. Chen, we're almost done here. There's something you should see." She followed him through the corridor, past the debris and shattered glass, to her own office, a space once immaculate, now littered with papers and evidence bags. Ruiz pointed to a laptop on her desk. The screen showed a live broadcast. A female anchor spoke solemnly. This morning, documents leaked overnight confirmed the existence of covert military operations carried out through private corporate partnerships. The whistleblower, identified as Captain Ethan Grant, was presumed dead in 2018. His survival and subsequent death last night have ignited a national investigation. Olivia's throat tightened. They were showing Ethan's photograph, the same one from his military ID. The world now knew his face, his name, his sacrifice. The anchor continued, "The data, verified by multiple sources, details a web of shell companies and shadow contracts. Among them, Atlas Consulting. CEO Olivia Chen is reportedly cooperating with federal authorities. Early reports suggest she played a key role in exposing the truth." Olivia stared at the screen, her reflection blending with Ethan's image. For the first time, their stories were aligned, the soldier who couldn't die, and the businesswoman who'd never lived beyond the illusion of control. When the report ended, Ruiz said quietly, "You could have walked away last night." "You didn't." She met his gaze. "He didn't walk away either." Ruiz nodded slowly, then left her alone. The office felt smaller now, stripped of its illusions. Olivia sank into the chair behind her desk, looking out over the waking city. Traffic was beginning to hum again, unaware that beneath its rhythm, a reckoning had begun. She closed her eyes and let the silence fill her. Images from the night replayed behind her eyelids, the rain, the glass, the look on Ethan's face as the upload completed. She wondered if he'd known, in those final moments, that the truth would not destroy her, but deliver her. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. It was Lila, her assistant, eyes red from tears. "They said the press is downstairs," she murmured. "They're asking for a statement." Olivia looked past her, to the rain-slick skyline. Then I should give them one. She rose, gathering the dog tags in her hand. Their weight was light but grounding, the measure of a man who had carried the unbearable. Down in the lobby, the crowd had gathered, cameras flashing, microphones poised. As Olivia stepped out from the elevator, the noise swelled, voices overlapping, questions, accusations, demands. She didn't flinch. When she reached the podium, the world's eyes were on her. She took a breath, her voice steady despite the exhaustion. For years, we believed progress was measured by profit. That the more efficient we became, the better we were serving the world. But progress without conscience isn't progress, it's blindness. The crowd quieted. She continued, "Last night, a man came to me who was supposed to be dead. He risked his life to bring the truth into the light. Captain Ethan Grant was not a ghost. He was a reminder that some things are worth losing everything for." Her voice softened. We all have a choice. To turn away from the uncomfortable truth, or to face it and be changed by it. For a moment, there was silence. Not the silence of indifference, but of gravity. Cameras clicked. Reporters scribbled. Olivia felt the morning air cool against her skin, the smell of rain mixing with exhaust and coffee and something new, something alive. When she stepped down from the podium, she didn't look back. Outside, the clouds began to break apart, sunlight spilling through in fractured rays. The city glittered like it was exhaling after a long, held breath. She walked toward the edge of the plaza, past the tape and the cameras, until she could see the reflection of the tower in a puddle on the pavement, the same building where the night had begun. The cracks in its glass caught the morning light like veins of silver. Olivia stood there for a long time, clutching Ethan's tags. Then she whispered, almost to herself, "You can rest now." The wind carried her words away, up toward the sky that was slowly clearing. And as the sunlight touched her face, Olivia Chen, the woman who had built her empire on control, finally let go. She didn't know what would come next: investigation, trial, redemption. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty: the truth had survived the storm. And somewhere, in the quiet between thunder and dawn, a soldier's ghost could finally fade into peace.